it feels like walking up to those towers is going to be just that little bit harder, and that might be time that four zoomers sort of need to get going. They need that early rotation, they need that early gold to get their heroes sort of on the board. But Mars, 4 Brax, classic hero combination, hero player combination, going to give them a little bit of that early team fight. We always see the Mars picked up versus the Invoker if it is still in the pool. Just nothing he can do about it up until he gets that BKB. It's one of those guaranteed plays that you can always make on the immobile Invoker.
Right. Solid pick there with the Mars, and now the Naga Siren coming out for 4 zoomers. But to be honest, I kind of love that Warlock pick out from Undying. Obviously, it's useful in the lane, but we talked about this a little bit, I think, yesterday when we saw the Disruptor picked up against the Mars. It's a situation where, in certain circumstances, you can almost use the Mars' initiation against them. The Mars will go in, drop the arena, hit the spear, and if 4 zoomers aren't careful, if they try to rush in to sort of take advantage of that initiation and pick off that hero, then the Warlock, as long as he was sort of maintaining separation and he's on the outside, just drops down the rock, and all of a sudden, 4 zoomers have grouped up into the middle of an ult and the fight can turn. So it's always something that I think 4 zoomers will have to be careful of. Not necessarily a move that Undying will be able to make consistently, but the threat of it is going to prevent 4 zoomers from necessarily grouping up to the degree that they may want to off the back of their own initiations. But on the sort of flip side of that, you now have the Naga Siren, always going to be a hero that can farm up incredibly well and do some substantial damage, but even more importantly than that, you've got that Song of the Siren against some big sort of team fight ult plays from Undying. So if that song's deployed in the right spot, then heroes like the Veno and the Warlock may not have such a fun time after all.
Yeah, and counterpicks the Veno in lane. That's why we saw the PL banned out, because PL just feels a little bit nicer. And we've seen Naga twice in this tournament already where it hasn't been the most successful. It does get sort of pursued in those side lanes. And versus Invoker, Sammy Boy is going to need to be careful. It's one of the few heroes that can sort of disable you long enough where you might not be able to get that Song TP nearly as easily as you otherwise would like to. Same with Warlock, to be honest, where that rock is just out of range of your song, so you are going to have to worry about your TP getting canceled. But if you're using your rock to cancel the Naga's TP, you're going to be pretty happy on the side of 4 zoomers with the amount of team fight they've picked up. They're saying, or at least Undying are thinking, that they're gonna need a gunner hero on the 4 zoomer side. We won't really know until they pick up, or whatever they pick up now, because it does feel like an ocean hero is missing from that 4 zoomers lineup. They could maybe push it around, put that Leshrac 4. We've seen the sort of stun into stun with Lesh, with Mars. You would be a little bit annoying. And Lesh, while it's not Lina, it is a hero that Ocean has sort of played before. So we'll see if Undying are on the mark here. But Void Spirit would be pretty annoying. It's just those heroes where you have the Venom, you have the Warlock, you don't have the most consistent lockdown. And that's where we might see 4 zoomers go for a hero like the Storm Spirit if they did want to shift their lineup pretty much down one. And Undying really think that Gunner doesn't have his hero yet. So it's interesting stuff coming out from Undying, because I would say this is going to be a Gunner Leshrac. We're going to see an Ocean hero here. Maybe we see the Wind, which we see so popular nowadays. We've seen it picked in 6 out of the 8 games yesterday. It just feels like that hero is really gone and taken its stride. Yep. Okay, Rubik.
Yeah, not quite the Wind, but still an Ocean hero. So, as you were saying, I don't know. Undying sort of were convinced otherwise, but I suppose in this instance you're better safe than sorry. The Rubik could give you some issues depending on what he steals, but letting in one of those spirits could have been maybe equally, if not more, sort of concerning for them. So if you're Undying, you're barking up the wrong tree just a little bit, but I don't
Wraith
think...
King? Sven.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Well, it still gives you the damage. You don't have that sort of fallback plan to work with the reincarnation, but it is a hero that Tomato is at least assumingly going to be sort of comfortable with. High damage, high farming rate, and going to be hard to sort of bring down in the middle of these engagements. So, should work out at least relatively well for that Undying side.
Yeah, and it's another hero that's just gonna go in. It's something that their lineup sort of lacked up until that point, and it's actually going to be shifted down one, I guess, after seeing the Sammy Boy Naga Siren. Now we're going to have a 4 Venom, now we're going to have a 3 Tiny, so a little bit more of that farming priority now going to get shifted to that Tiny. I'm feeling pretty good with what Undying have. The Sven really does sort of pull it all together, where now you do have that hero that is going to be able to walk down pretty much everyone. And we see this Sven picked up versus heroes like the Invoker, like the Viper, like the Leshrac, where you hit that BKB timing, and if you're ever out of position, you're going to get your BKB faster on this Sven unless going to really rushes for it. And you always need to be incredibly cautious, because if that Stormhammer hits, you're just going to die. You're going to get bursted down. You're going to get chained up. And I'm really interested to see what Saberlight's going to be able to get done, because we don't see this offlane Tiny pretty much ever anymore, just because it doesn't feel the best. You lose a lot of the lanes that you do end up playing, but we'll have to see with the Veno. I'm sure Moon Meander is going to be incredibly annoying for Sammy, but honestly, I'd say pretty even draft. There are a lot of things going for both teams this time around.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's what we'd expect, right, from these two squads. They're sitting at the top of those group stage standings for a reason. They have played incredibly well, and they have drafted well as well. I'm saying the word well too many times. It's lost its meaning, but we're going to be moving on. But as you said, that offlane Tiny, um, even when it was being run, which I use that phrase kind of in air quotes, even at the height of the offlane Tiny's popularity, it still wasn't all that popular. So I think across both of these lineups, that is the single biggest question mark right now. Just what will Saberlight do? And as you were sort of alluding to, how much can Moon Meander sort of uh, help out for his teammate on that Veno in terms of trying to just get in that early harassment? So we'll have to wait and see. I don't really know how much they're going to be able to rely on Saberlight, but he's a skilled player. He should know what he's doing here. He's laning up with the Venomancer, so I have high hopes, but I don't know where the expectations sit right now for a Pause 3 Tiny. But I suppose we'll have to find out in just a few more moments here as the teams are getting themselves in. Undying already maneuvering their way across the map right now, getting several heroes into that south side jungle. And Brax, okay, he's not going to go that far forward. He'll drop down the Obs ward, so if Undying push down the ramp, he should see them coming, and that is pretty much going to make it impossible for this Mars to actually get caught out. So he will be just fine for now. Meanwhile, Sammy Boy sending out those illusions, just trying to do a little bit of scouting, but none of those illusions spot a hero, so they should now have a pretty solid idea of exactly where Undying are.
Yeah, and they just want to see if they could maybe get that high ground ward, tell which side that either mid laner are going to place it. I don't think Brow has his. Yeah, Doobie's just going to go for it. They're sitting here protecting it to see if maybe there's a four zoomers here that's going to get a little bit greedy, walk up that hill, try to stand in this little nook in the trees. It'd be cool if Sammy Boy actually did it with an illusion. That'd be a little bit sick, but has one in position, but guess it's just going to be scouting out. But as we've seen with these NA teams, nothing really expended early on. They don't want to give away anything. They just want to have a pretty decent time here. Start with all of the region that they buy in. This top lane's a little bit wild. I understand Husky started boots, but still have Moon Meander and Saberlight. So they're playing the movement game up here.
Hmm. We'll see how much that allows them to sort of get in onto their opponents early, as right now Moon Meander and Husky doing a little dance here in the west side jungle. Moon would very much like to go to lane. Husky is sort of gatekeeping at the moment, but actually I was going to say he's sort of backing off, but he's going back in. He's just not going to let the Venom go. He's basically going to force Moon Meander to either TP or go the long way under the protection of the tower, and it looks like it is going to be the latter for the Venom. He finally gives up on this. They're just trading a little bit of right-click damage, but in most circumstances that feels like a fight that the Venom's going to lose, especially considering he didn't skill anything up. So Moon will back off, concedes defeat there, and will simply try to get himself back up to the lane, but we do have a DC here as apparently a Tomato has dropped out, so going to be waiting for that Sven to get back in.
And something that will be something to watch out for is, well, you have to worry about your Tiny initiating in when there is this ET on the field. Now, Tomato will also need to be a little bit careful. And we've seen Svens in these tournament or in this tournament specifically, where if that BKB does tick a little bit too low, if you do overstay your welcome just a little bit, that's when the Naga will swoop in, net you up, ensnare you, maybe cut you around a little bit more than you'd like. And that's really the only time that we've seen this Sven fall. And we haven't seen this matchup specifically, I think, the Naga versus the Sven just yet. Usually we'll see the Wraith King slotted in just because you have that second life, you have that little bit more damage. But what we have seen a lot is the Sven versus Faceless Void. And if you can kite out, if you can save that song, of course, song is not going to stop your BKB. Tomato will be able to get something done during that protection. if it does end, if you are going to get kited, four zoomers do have the tools to sort of pull this Sven apart. So it really is just going to be on to that quick and fast execution coming out from the Undying side, where zoomers, they want to take this slow and steady.
And, to that sort of extent as well, that same thought process, the Sven likely going to build a BKB. We're probably going to see something like it from the Invoker as well. So could be a situation here where Sammy Boy on that Naga Siren considers the Aghanim Scepter upgrade. So would have the ability to ensnare up those targets even through some of that magic immunity. It's an item that I would hardly call standard on the Naga Siren. Most of the time, it seems like these Naga players do tend to kind of forego it, as a lot of the times you don't really need it. But considering the fact that Undying may be going for 2 to 3 BKBs in this scenario, we'll see. Sammy Boy could consider it. It probably won't come around until after his first 2 or even 3 sort of major items, but something for him to bear in mind in terms of itemization there, as Husky tried to get a little bit forward. He was hoping for the courier snipe, but not quite going to go all the way in for that, especially with Moon Meander having that point up in the Venomous Scale. If Husky gets too far forward, that slow is going to come through, and he is likely not getting back to his original position.
Well, with this double boot start, of course, you will quell some of the aggression coming in from the ET, and you see that Husky has 2 sentries, but there has been no effort to block these
There's the
camps.
Gale.
He
Saberlight,
could
though.
scope the Ava.
Yeah, there it is. Okay,
Yeah.
they'll go for it. He's got the toss here as well, so they might get the...
Nice.
Okay, no, Moon Meander just does it himself. Although, actually, he did throw the tree. But either way, First Blood goes to Undying, able to pick off Husky, and yeah, that's exactly the scenario we were just describing with the double boots. They're able to get in there, and obviously the ET, he had boots of his own, but with that much slow coming out from that Venomous Gale, with the Avalanche on top of him to really keep him locked in place, he just wasn't able to get himself out.
Yeah, and striking whenever Sammy Boy doesn't have that mirror image up, so his damage is a lot lessened. You're not able to help your boy out nearly as much, and there are a lot fewer options for Husky. However, he was able to stack that small camp. He's going to get this pull off, but Saberlight's got a full wave that he has to sort of get his creep slow and deny, and bottom lane, looks like Dubu did get picked off, pulled back by the Rubik.
That's just
Strong lane.
Yeah, straight up easy combo, right? Telekinesis into the spear stun. It is maybe not impossible to miss, but it's pretty damn hard. So a quick and easy kill there in onto the Warlock. Tomato, I mean, he tried to help out with the Warcry, but it's not going to be quite enough to save the day. So Dubu gets taken down. He's quick to return to the lane, though, and honestly, I think that's going to be just fine for Undying. It's an unfortunate death, but they had already secured First Blood, and the Warlock is just back in. He's got level 2 up in the Shadow Word, so the Tomato's going to be able to sustain in this lane just fine, and Brax and Ocean can't really get onto the Sven. Maybe they can pick off the Warlock once or twice more, but getting Tomato out here is going to be increasingly difficult as this lane goes on.
Yeah, and maybe once we see possibly the boots, could be the Orb of Corrosion. It really is hard to kill this Sven unless he gets incredibly greedy. Just always having that Shadow Word now level 2, so it's just a little bit too much healing coming out. They really don't have that burst damage unless you do have those items, so Tomato's fine. He's just going to farm.
Yeah. Meanwhile, mid, Gunner able to secure one of those water runes, as he did get his bottle a little bit early. No such bottle play coming out here for the Invoker. He looked for that urn early on. He does already have it, so that is a nice bit of progress for him early. We'll see if he goes straight into the Spirit Vessel upgrade right now. We see a lot of Invokers just sort of leave it at a casual urn and then look for something along the lines of the Hand of Midas instead. But Bryle, as of right now, nothing queued up. So he is going to sort of keep his cards close to the chest here and not give anything away, as he'll push it onto Gunner, hit him up with the Cold Snap into the EMP. Taking away about half the Leshrax's mana there, but in terms of actual damage, it's not quite as impressive, and now Gunner is pushing forward with the Edict, and Bryle could be in trouble, as we do have a pause coming out here again from that 4-zoomer's side. It was Tomato who DC'd earlier on, but now it appears we may have some connection issues on both sides of the matchup.
Yeah, and Bryle, he's got Tornado. He's going to be fine, but Gunner is just trying to make him use it. He's just trying to have that forcing play. And that's where Brow just needs to continue being annoying. Once he has another point up in Wex, that EMP is going to steal just that little bit more mana, and then Gunner, we'll see if he is going to have to continue to buy out that region. You sort of have to when you're playing this, and then Brow just has to keep hitting him with EMP. If you can force this Leshrac to waste his money, and it doesn't feel like a waste, but getting those clarities, walking back to base, having his teammates fill up his bottle, you're just sort of pushing down this Leshrac while you're forcing Four Zoomers to maybe over rotate to that lane. But yeah, Gunner's just going to try and go for the stomp. If he doesn't stomp him, or if he does stomp him, he's going to get a little bit more damage and maybe force out another tango. Really feels like Bryo isn't under too much threat here. And he is going to actually queue up that Spirit Vessel. We see when you do get the Spirit Vessel, you are going to be able to play a lot more aggressive, specifically in those side lanes. That's one of the ways that Brax would die very easily. Same with Gunner, even though he does have that Yule Scepter queued up, where you would come down from it. You have another vessel charge. You have to be careful being out in front. You are supposedly the tanky hero on your team up there with the Mars, and he really needs to become that sort of secondary frontliner where Brax is going to look for those initiations. So you're going to need the Lesh to stand out in front of your team, and that's where the Spirit Vessel could really cause some problems for them.
And Gunner actually not even going to push all the way in, so won't be able to force that tornado. He does land the splitter stun, though, but
Nice.
oh, now the tornado comes through, and Moonmeander's here as well. They get the cold snap down into the Gale, and Gunner, he might just go down. He's not going to survive that much DOT. Water Rune will be deployed, but he's still dead. So Bryle, I mean, you were saying before he was going to be fine. He's better than fine. He knows Moonmeander's sort of rotating in, and they just jump all over that Leshrac, and Gunner, I mean, I like the play he makes there. He backs off initially. He may have suspected something, but it's not quite fast enough, and the rotation will net Undying a kill.
And I believe Moon did have to TP, but that's just how fast the play was. They really didn't see it coming. It comes at the perfect time as well because the wave is pushed into Saberlight. Now you're going to give Tiny a little bit of that Soul XP, which does give a little bit of a break over to Sammy Boy. Sammy Boy can't really last it up versus that Naga incredibly easily. Ooh, and they're trying to get a toss onto Sammy. They want to throw him at the tower, but man, this is awkward.
This is a very rough time for this, as Moonmeander, I don't know, he doesn't have a whole lot of health. He could pop the Mango here, maybe, but the Gale is still on cooldown for quite a while, and he has no Plague Ward, so he's just going to sit here and try and do it with right-click damage, and at this point, even if you get this Avalanche Toss combo off, Sammy might just be able to bring one or both of these heroes down. I think their window may have passed. If they couldn't get off that sort of toss initially because of the illusions, I think now it might just be time for them to try to back away, but we'll see how it plays out as Brax says they're ready to go, apologizing for a couple of delays here, but we're back into it, and we'll see if Sammy can survive this, or maybe even turn it around. As the Avalanche comes through, the toss will be there. Bryle, okay, nice TP in. Now they've got the Tornado into the EMP, into the Cold Snap, and Sammy will be taken down. So, Moonmeander TP's in to help Bryle out in the middle lane. Bryle returns the favor up top, and Undying have a very big kill onto that Naga Siren.
Yeah, and Undying, it just feels so clean, so measured, and while both these heroes will make the long walk back to base, Saberlight will probably just TP back in. They're really playing well around this Invoker, and Brow is the one that needs to get active on his team. He needs to be making these rotations, and as long as they're working out, you aren't going to see him fall too far behind that Leshrac, because he did sort of pull ahead in the lane just a bit, and while you were able to get an Arcane Rune up on Gunner, think farm a few stacks that Husky was making for you, we're really not going to see him get too involved up until he gets a few more points and maybe that Split Earth and that Lightning Storm. He just doesn't have enough gas in the tank right now.
They're trying to hunt for him, though. Both Saberlight and Bryle moving into that north side jungle. Gunner, however, very wisely backs off. The wards sort of spot out that rotation, so he is going to be able to back himself away, and that would have been absolutely brutal for him. That's the point where he's just trying to sort of fall back into the jungle and farm, as you were saying. If he'd have gotten caught out there, he would have been set back to sort of a frightening degree. So, able to back himself away, but now Sammy might be in some trouble up top. They go in with the Avalanche into the toss. Moon is holding that Gale for as long as he can, and by that I mean he's not actually going to use it at all. So, I don't know. If they drop the Gale, maybe they could have tried for it. The mirror image, though, was there, so Sammy likely would have just been able to sort of get himself out of that anyway, but at least it's damage, and it forces Sammy out of the lane. He's now rotating into the jungle as well.
Yeah, and it just spawns those illusions at half HP, so he's not going to be able to farm up nearly as easily. But, again, you're Naga Siren. You don't really care about this too much. This is par for the course. Maybe try and stack for yourself a little bit. Sammy Boy is not really going to be too bothered, but Moon is trying to become that bother. He is trying to be really annoying. Messes up his stack, and he's just going to TP to the tower, but this might be Undying rotating more heroes up here after they see that TP. This is a little bit risky for Sammy.
Right, TP directly within that sort of sightline of Saberlight, so they are very much aware of the fact that the Naga has no way out here other than just getting out on foot, as they are going to go in with the Avalanche into the toss, into the Gale. Sammy, well, he might be in some trouble here. Do they have enough damage with just the two of them to actually find the kill? As of right now, not entirely sure. Meanwhile, down bot, well, there's no reinforcements coming for the Naga because they were looking for a fight down in that bottom lane. They've taken down both Tomato and Dubu, and now they're in onto Brile. They hit him up with a splitter, then this Invoker, he's going to try to get away, but that Ghost Walk is immediately broken up. Ocean with the dust gets them the vision, and they will find the kill. All the while, Sammy Boy lived. They weren't able to lock him down. They couldn't dive the tower for him. So you keep the Naga Siren alive and farming while you pick up 3 kills in the 3-for-1 down bot. And I believe they got the credit for the tower kill as well.
Yeah, and I think Samuel just gave him the little ring around the rosy, gave him a nice little juke saber. It was still certain that the Naga was up there, and that is the issue with this Quasflex Invoker TPing 2 lanes. You use your 4 spells, and then you're done. You have to wait for those pretty long cooldowns. They're 20-30 seconds, and if you get caught out like that, you're just 100% gonna get punished. If you don't land that EMP onto the Leshrac, he has enough mana to sort of take you out, and Gunner syncing up with Brax, it's the perfect play. It's exactly what Four Zoomers needed to do.
Yeah, tying up the kill count and pushing out to, well, about 1,000 net worth lead here early. Largest lead we've seen so far. So the momentum shifts really off the back of that singular play, which, yeah, pre 10 minutes isn't really all that shocking. That kind of fight is certainly going to put the winning team ahead of their opponents. But Undying still looking for benefits elsewhere on the map. You see Saberlight and Moonmander weren't able to get the Naga Siren a few moments ago, but they are still pushing onto this tier 1 tower, and they've already dropped it relatively low. So if they could get that tier 1 for themselves, that would go a long way towards sort of cutting into this early deficit, and would give them a bit more access to this north side jungle as well. It's an area that they're already starting to sort of ward up a little bit too, recognizing that both Sammy and Gunner are going to be trying to sort of farm up in that area, so they would very much like to take control of this north side, really just sort of put the squeeze on some of those Four Zoomers cores, and taking the tower will at least help them towards that goal. But if they really do want to have easy access to that north side jungle, they're going to need the tier 1 mid as well, and I don't know if they're in a great position to do that at the moment. They do have the cart here mid, but I don't know if Brile's really going to consider it too much, and yeah, he's already backing away.
Yeah, there's no real reason for him to commit, and that's where Brax does need to be very careful when and where he shows, because as soon as they see that Mars, they can make the call that, oh, he's here, let's not be here. We know he has arena. We know that we should force him to make plays, maybe use a smoke on the Four Zoomer side, maybe force that 3-4 man rotation, and they're going to get aggressive on this tier 2 tower with the cart. They do have the Edict, they do have this Leshrac, so we'll have to see how Undying decide to take this, because they can't get away with this. Four Zoomers can't just push down a tier 2 11 minutes into the game.
But Undying are kind of massively out of position. We do see one TP coming in though, but it's only Dubu here. He does have the rock though, so well, maybe they could do something, but not alone. He needs backup, but looks like Four Zoomers are not exactly going to test him at the moment. They back off with 3, which is honestly a little bit strange. They know Dubu's there because they got hit up by those fatal bonds, but they see 3 heroes hanging out mid, so...
But now they know he can't be mid, so
Ooh.
even though he has rock, it's just Brax looking for the initiation.
Doesn't have the
They're
blink,
just on
though.
the edge.
Only
Don't
12
pop their
minutes.
smokes.
Only 12 minutes in, no blink dagger at this point, but he was hoping for it. They're hanging out now on the ramp, and Saberlight dangerously close. He does get, I believe, close enough to actually pop that, so Four Zoomers know he's there, but now with this many heroes in the area, they're actually going to be the ones forced to back away. Ocean, though, yeah, he was getting a little bit close, so he'll use that telekinesis just to make sure Saberlight won't be catching him, and looks like everyone's just going to back away in the south side jungle.
Yep, and it's as soon as they see Dubu rotating over that they know our window has sort of been lost. We couldn't get in on the mid. We don't want to throw away our weed. We can maybe do another smoke now that we have this Yule Scepter up on the Leshrac. We don't need to throw away anything right now. We don't want to play into Undying's hand too hard here, especially still building that blink, still building that vessel. Or actually, you have the vessel now, but you need sort of that initiation now on the Undying side. It's something that their team truly lacks. it's really just counter initiation coming out from the majority of their heroes.
And we'll see just how quickly Saberlight's going to be able to get up that Blink Dagger. He's only about 400 or 500 away from it now, so if he takes a few moments to farm up in the jungle, especially with
Ooh,
the
Rubik's a big kill.
pace of the game slowing down is what I was going to say, but Ocean's under attack in the middle lane. That feels a little unnecessary with the Golem, but it is going to act as the sort of battering ram for them to get in onto the tier 1 tower, so Duba was sort of thinking beyond just the pickoff there, as they are now going to be able to push onto that tier 1 tower and should take it down with the Golem taking up the shots.
Yeah, and we'll see how they decide to defend now their bottom side jungle. We see Bryle TPing in. He does need to be careful. The arena is up. He could go for the tornado onto Gunner if he can guess correctly where it is, but if he whiffs it, this is going to feel pretty bad.
He's not going to move in time to save the tower, but he does hit up Gunner with the tornado as well as the cold snap, but there's going to be that Eul's offering the protection. The EMP, though, does still come through, so Gunner not going to be really doing any damage here. There's going to be the arena from Brax, but it's not enough. Gunner still goes down. The stomp from the ET is going to sort of prevent Saberlight and Moonmeander from chasing any further, but at that point, they already got the kill that they wanted. Gunner gets taken down. It's unfortunate that they couldn't move in before the tier 2 tower falls, but that is still going to be a nice pickoff for them.
And I was wondering sort of why he was sticking around as long as he was, and just perfectly played from Bryle. Only has 1 point up in that Exhort, but the 4 levels in Quas, that Ice Wall really just completely slows you down, and you have to be careful when you use your Eul Scepters because you are just going to go get punished immediately by that. And it felt like he was a little bit disconnected from his ET. There wasn't any stomp save. There was sort of the arena coming out a little bit too late, and it did stop Saberlight from getting onto him, but still the avalanche was there. It was just that supplemental magic damage. And now for Zoomers, they shouldn't have to check themselves too hard, but they're going to continue to play in this bot lane, and without the arena, they definitely need to be a little bit careful. And this is all time that, while your Sammy Boy Naga is farming, this is also time that Tomato is farming on that Sven. And that Sven is definitely going to start showing up to these fights a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I think he just finished off his S&Y here. Courier, yeah, bringing it out. So, Sanjin Yasha picked up for Tomato, going to give him a nice bit of extra durability and damage to go along with the sort of Mask of Madness play. So, Tomato could afford to get involved here a little bit early on compared to the Naga Siren, who still keep feeling kind of iffy. The Manta is going to be useful, but I don't know if that's the item that's enough for Sammy Boy to really push in. Maybe if his teammates set him up for an opportunity first, and then he can sort of come in later with the song, then he could be more involved, but feels like the Sven is hitting a bit of an earlier timing, as this is a very interesting TP from Ryle directly onto Gunner. Gunner does get the tower once again, but just like last time, he may end up losing his life here, as he does get hit up by the Fatal Bonds into the Shadow Word, but no one's actually able to catch up to him. Ryle, no, not fast enough. Saberlight has the blink, but he can't quite cross that kind of distance in the time that they would need, so it's a nice play from 4 Zoomers. Last time, Gunner sticks around a little bit too long. Thought maybe he could get caught out again in that mid tower, but gets the tower, he backs off. Everything's going to be just fine for 4 Zoomers, although Undying are still sort of looking for this one. Tomato's got a DD rune, so he's either looking for a fight or potentially for an early Roche play here. I don't know.
Yeah, that's where he's heading.
Can they really sneak this, though? 4 Zoomers, if they catch wind of it, they could rotate into position, and it looks like Tomato's actually going to back off of it, at least for now.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to play into the hands of the Naga Siren. He knows that Sammy Boy is in this top side, and actually he sneaks his illusions over. They caught wind of that DD possibly, so see that he's not going to be doing anything like that. And Sammy Boy has been splitting up his farm a little bit to try and get into that top side of the jungle, maybe deny a little bit of the triangle to Tomato. But again, once you get this BKB on this Fen, you're going to start seeing him get way more aggressive, way more involved, try to really punish these, really everyone on the 4 Zoomer side, as Saberlight, he's been getting pretty farmed here, but he hasn't been able to find those very, very easy pickoffs. 4 Zoomers have been really syncing up nicely with their cores.
Yeah, that is sort of the interesting thing. Saberlight did get that Blink Dagger, I think maybe a minute or two ago, but we haven't really seen him take advantage of it just yet, as up in the top lane, Moonmeander is just going to die here. He does throw down the ult, so Sammy is going to take a little bit of extra DOT afterwards, but it's not really enough to do him any harm, and there's no one on the side of Undying who is really going to get there in time. Tomato and Brawl sort of made their way up, but by the time they arrived, it was already sort of too late. Moon was dead, and Sammy Boy was already backing off, but all 3 cores now pushing their way into this north side jungle, so And with this many heroes in the area, maybe they could look for something, but they don't have any guaranteed vision right now. They've sort of lost their eyes in this north side jungle, so I don't think Sammy's going to be in any real danger unless he's the one who sort of moves out of position. But you see Saberlight charging his way forward. He is going to drop the Avalanche down onto an illusion. And at that point, I don't really think there's anything more they can do here. Undying are just going to back away. Dubu, well, he throws down a sentry, but I think that's in, yeah, that's in range of the sentry that 4 Zoomers already have, and nobody set up a actual obs ward up there.
Yeah, and with Ronk, they do want to get a little bit more aggressive than they previously have been, and Bryle is the key hero that should be looking for Sammy Boy, but it feels like he's necessary in the team fight that has sort of been brewing bottom, where you show the Leshrac, you show the Mars, and something's got to happen, something needs to be responded to, even though there isn't a tier 2 down here, and while 4 Zoomers haven't been able to really breach anywhere in the last few minutes, you do see items coming out. There isn't a Blink Dagger on this Mars. He did decide to go for that Yule Scepter instead, but really neither team wants to engage, really risk losing the team fight as of yet. They want to wait for that double BKB timing on Undying, or 4 Zoomers, they just want to farm up, maybe make a smoke play here and there. They also want to just play a little bit slower. And here we go.
Yeah, pace of play.
This is the Orchid on Naga. It's a straight, feels a little bit atypical, but this could definitely work, especially versus the Invoker.
4 Zoomers pushing their way forward.
They got him. Dubu.
White there in time. Dubu's going to drop the rock onto 3. There's going to be the jump in as well from Saberlight, but it's actually onto the back line. He was looking for Brax first, and they are going to do a pretty substantial amount of damage to him, but here comes Sammy in with the song. That's not actually going to affect further to the south, where Gunner was able to take down Moon Meander, so 4 Zoomers find the kill. The Stomp comes in onto 2 as well, and it looks like they should be able to disengage here relatively easily. So it does cost them the song, but I don't know. On the other side of things, you threw down that Chaotic Offering, and you really don't get a whole lot out of it if you're Undying.
Yeah, and really good song coming in from Sammy Boy. You retreat onto the high ground, you go back to that fortress that you were sort of able to make with that high ground vision, and while you do lose that vision pretty much instantly, you defended yourself, so you didn't throw away anything. That was your play. You tried to make it back to farming, back to business. You don't feel tanky enough, and really just Brax getting almost blown up there. Him only having 400 or 500 HP, it definitely felt a little bit scary, and that's where Undying, they might decide to now play near this Roche pit. They do have a Solar Crest on the Veno, and Tomato didn't use his God Strength before, so this Roche is now going to be the next contestant.
Alright, we're going in for it. Do 4 Zoomers suspect it? They certainly do now, as those illusions will march their way forward. So they know what's down, but the song is still down for about 50 seconds. That would have been really the biggest tool to just push in there, try and steal it for yourself. So now they've got to be a little bit more careful about how they approach this one. The illusions will continue to sort of push forward, looking for an opening. Saberlight, though,
looking for the fight.
He doesn't want to wait, pushing in. Bryle is going to try to get some follow-up with the Tornado, as Brax did throw down the arena into the Spear Stump, but now here comes Tomato onto the back line. Yule Scepter, though, will lock him down, so he's not going to be able to push in just yet. But, well, this fight's really breaking apart, and Sammy, that's the wrong side. He is going to get stuck in the river. They're going to just jump, oh my god, directly onto him. They've got him. Sammy, I don't know what happened there. He gets so far out of position. Maybe it was the toss-back play, or it was just his own sort of positional mistake, but Sammy does get taken down. Bryle does end up falling in exchange, though, so 4 Zoomers will find that kill, and at this point, the God Strength is gone from Tomato, so I think if you're 4 Zoomers, you do successfully prevent the Roche attempt, but that's pretty costly to have to sacrifice the Naga Siren in that one.
Yeah, and it's just Sammy Boy caught on the low ground, pretty much in the exact same position as Bryle ended up getting caught. He just tried to get back to his team, sync up, gets punished for it pretty hard, but now you have that song, you have that ET still, so Tomato's actually going to waltz back into the pit, but they have to be incredibly careful, because 4 Zoomers, they can definitely take the fight. Even though they don't have the arena, that's up in 10 seconds. They just need to get over here.
They're not in position. Yeah, that's going to be the downside. Sammy, though, is going to be respawning. We see the TPs coming in onto the outpost. They want to contest this. They're not willing to give it up without a fight, and back to the point you were sort of making, without the God Strength, they're not getting this fast enough, and there's going to be the song.
And kill it. They're going to try to steal it, but
it's got a lot of health still. I don't think they can get it in time, but Brax setting up with the arena, into the spear, into the Split Earth as well, and this is going pretty well for them. Dubu's already dropping low, Saberlight dropping as well, Roshan will go down, Sammy's going to be able to get the Aegis as well, and 4 Zoomers, they're in a pretty fantastic spot here as they're going to lock down Tomato as well. Can actually finish him off, though. Not just yet. Sammy, though, starting to drop a little bit low on HP. He will be stunned up and taken down, but that Aegis is going to get him right back into the fight as Brax tries for the spear. It does get the push back onto Tomato, but to a certain extent, that actually kind of saves him. He is going to be able to fall back and get away as Sammy will turn his attention on to Moon Meander. They do bring the Venomancer down, and that is going to be a teamfight win for Zoomers. That, I don't know, we were sort of talking about it. Undying, didn't really think it was a smart move to go back into the pit at that point, but they try to sneak it anyway. Sammy Boy respawns in time, and that song is absolutely perfect for Zoomers.
And really key steals. He had the tornado up from that Rubik. He was trying to be a little bit chaotic, almost got the Stormhammer, but it was really just the incredibly clutch Yules coming in from Gunner, securing that Aegis onto Sammy Boy. If Sammy Boy doesn't get that Aegis, he dies in the pit, just flat out there. Then the fight probably turns onto Brax and Gunner, and that's where everything would go sour. But instead, now you use their cooldowns. Really, if Dubu gets that rock off, we're looking at a much different game. Unfortunately, he was just caught on the low ground, and he's got a Midas of him for his own, so that's a little bit interesting on the Warlock. But really, Ocean has been able to get sort of these key small plays. You see now he's got Plague Wards, so he's just going to be able to farm that little bit more. He's being really annoying on this Rubik, and if Undying's lineup isn't able to get objectives, they're not able to get things done, then Zoomers are going to be very happy to pick and choose their fights and just keep farming up.
Right, if they can just farm on the cores, wait for the song to be up every once in a while, then go in for a fight, that's exactly the pace of play that they want. And Undying recognizing now, we can't really afford to let that happen. The 4-man smoke will come through. They're going to try and make some waves here as they are maneuvering their way towards that north side jungle. Moon Meander's already in position here near the top lane, so they're going to link up with him and look for the fight. And Sammy, that is a very questionable TP. He's going to get directly in, and they're going to try and lock him down. The song is available, but can they actually find the kill in time? Sammy, he's not actually going to pop the song. He just walks away under the cover of his own BKB, and now they might turn. Does he want it, though? Song would have to be used here, or maybe not. They're going to get down the arena into the spear stun. They've got the Sven. They've already picked off Moon Meander, meanwhile, further to the north. And this fight is going absolutely horribly for Undying. This Sven not doing any damage. Tomato is just trying to run, but the song is going to lock them all down. All three heroes just sort of sitting here. There's no rock to bail them out, so Tomato gets locked down first. Bryle going to get hit up by the ensnare, rooted in place, finished off. Saberlight at least able to find the avalanche toss kill onto Ocean there, but this is not going to be enough, especially if he still gets caught out. He's trying to find a spot to get himself away, but he doesn't have TP for 15, and Brax is able to lock him down. Yules into Spear, will get the Tiny, just completely locked in place. Husky even coming in with a stomp there at the end to make sure Saberlight wasn't going to pull any funny business. So 4 kills going their way. They have to sacrifice Ocean and Gunner, but still a clear-cut teamfight win for Zoomers as they begin to pull even further away here. An 8k lead for them at that 25-minute mark.
Yeah, and it felt like that initiation was already a little bit scuffed. They tornado the Stormhammer, so Sammy Boy just immediately falls down, doesn't have to worry about it, but beautiful bait from him. He has that BKB, he has this build that really you don't see coming, and they're keeping the feed train coming.
Oh man, Moon
both
going to be taken down, and now, yeah, Dubu's going to get hit up as well. That silence comes out from Sammy with the Orchid, so I don't really think that the Warlock was going to be able to save himself anyway, but don't take any chances. Hit him up with that burn and secure 2 more kills as Zoomers. I mean, before it was just sort of teamfight wins going their way. Now they're going to start taking further control of the map. They could even, at least theoretically, try for the high ground push. And okay, they are going to go for it. This, actually, I was going to say feels a little bit risky, but really it doesn't. Saberlight, though, is going to push in. Maybe they can punish, but Gunner, well, he's not dead just yet. He's trying to get himself away. Multiple Yules is being used onto him. And I think Saberlight may get him. No, Splitter stun comes through. Tomato's not going to be able to catch up in time, so instead they'll turn their attention onto Sammy. Can they bring the Naga down? They need to be able to lock him in place, and they do manage to do so. So Sammy Boy is dead. Saberlight does have to push far enough forward where he'll get taken down as well, but biggest kill on the map they could have possibly found there for Undying, and it prevents that push onto their tier 3 tower.
Yeah, he just got a little bit greedy. He really should have just had the song going, so that way the Sven didn't get his BKB off. He would have had to TP in and then start mashing it. And he didn't immediately BKB from Tomato, so there definitely would have been an easier play. Got a little bit greedy. His teammates were probably telling him, let's kill Tiny, and then you Song, and then we get out. But no, Bryle, they know he doesn't have BKB.
Yeah, can they actually bring him down? Yeah, okay, wow. That was not nearly as sort of up in the air as I thought it was. They just burned through him. Gunner in there with the damage, and well, Bryle, I mean, I don't know, he just assumed that everyone from Zoomers had already cleared out, which I suppose is a fair assumption to make based on sort of how that last fight ended, but just takes 2. Ocean and Gunner get back in there. Bryle was alone, and as you said, they knew he didn't have BKB back up, so when they push in, they find a quick and easy pickoff, and Undying making maybe a minor mistake there, but The rest of the lineup are trying to push out that tier 2 top, so they're still trying for objectives here, hoping to make up for the death of their teammate, but they need to be careful as well. Sammy is TPing in, Brax has moved into position, you even see the Rubik sort of coming up through that north side jungle, so not a situation where they want to overstay their welcome as they're already backing away.
And that's something where Brile really needs to be careful. We might see slightly more defensive itemization. He's got the bots queued up because he does sort of need a farming item. He needs something that's going to let him get out on the map. Skipping that Midas does just mean you have less farm on this Invoker, and he'll definitely start to sort of sag behind. But with his teammates, it really is just rock, maybe toss. You don't have those defensive tools that we've seen some other lineups pick up. With that Abaddon, with the tree, with the Enchantress, those heals aren't there on the Undying side, so it just means that that margin for error is that much higher, whereas for Zoomers, they are the damage, they are the danger, they are just going to push onto you, try to kill you as fast as they can, and really, it feels like now Undying have sort of missed their timing where they had that double BKB smoke that didn't end up working solely because of the bait from Sammy Boy, and this atypical Naga Siren build is really working out for him.
Yeah, you normally would sort of, I don't know, kind of just raise your eyebrows here if you see a Naga Siren pick up that Orchid, but it's worked pretty well, giving him the extra bit of sort of burn and lockdown to work with. But now, oh, Sammy,
breaking on him.
He's got the BKB, though. He's going to dodge out the stun. Actually, didn't quite dodge the stun with the Manta, excuse me, but he's going to be okay for now. Holding the BKB, teammates trying to sort of rush in as they get the stomp in onto the Invoker, but there's going to be that Chaotic Offering into the Poison Nova, but Brile, he's still dropping low. He's got to try and get himself out of here, and Brax doesn't want to let him go, but now Brax doesn't have HP. He's going to be taken down. His TP will not complete, and 4 Zoomers.
Tomato.
Oh, they're going in onto Tomato. They will be able to bring him down. Saberlight tried to save the day there with the Avalanche Toss combo, but not only does he fail to sort of get those kills, he fails to save his teammate. Now he's dead as well. Gunner picks up the double, and Sammy says, okay, let's reset. Song of the Siren will be deployed. They get eyes on Brile, and they're going to go in onto that Invoker, quickly able to lock him down. And now if you're Undying, it's just the supports alive. They need to get as far away from this as they can, but the Yules will cancel the TP, and this Veno's dead. Moon Meander with nowhere to go.
And just caught without your BKB on the low ground. Tomato, he's working towards that AC, but it feels like now you have fallen behind so far from this Naga Siren, and all of the pressure is on Undying. If they're not able to kill those heroes in that 4 or 5 second timing, the fight just immediately turns on you. And they've really tanked up on the 4 Zoomer side where you have to be worried about getting kited. You have the Eternal Shroud, you have the Kaya Sanj on the Slash Rack. Now he's going to go for, I suppose, an Octarine Core. And once you have these sort of supplemental items, you have a full Butterfly and Sammy Boy. You're really playing 1 or 2 steps behind the 4 Zoomer squads now if you're Undying, and this is where their lineup is really going to feel pretty awful. And that was with Brax going down in a pretty terrible position. And to his credit, Ocean has been finding all of these incredible steals. They've been the small, annoying ones, but they've also just been, I stole Poison Nova. I got that onto 3 or 4 heroes. Now you have to worry about that once your BKBs tick down. And with these BKBs itemized so early, they just get another free kill top. But
the Moon does get taken down, but Tomato, okay, he wants in. Sammy is dropping a little bit low here, but he does still have the Song, and Tomato, he's running out of HP at this point already, so I don't know how much further he wants to take that, and now he may have gone too far. Husky's going to try to set up, but Brile's able to sort of cut him off there before he can actually go in, so Tomato is going to be able to back off for now, and now Gunner is actually the one who's a bit too far forward, but Brax pushing in, dropping the arena into the Spear Stun. They block down Saberlight. Earth Splitter comes in to finish the job as Saberlight will fall. Now Brile running out of time on the BKB. Yules will lock him in place. Gunner comes in for the Splitter stun, and this Invoker, he's not going anywhere. The Ensnare even coming in from Sammy as he does drop the net, and Undying, at this point, they just gotta stop these sorts of plays. They're trying to get in there, but every time they initiate, it seems like they're just digging that hole a little bit deeper for themselves, and you don't want to back off entirely, but what they're trying right now, these initiations, it's all just sort of backfiring on them massively.
And now, immediately into the pit, Sammy Boy, he might need a little bit of help. He isn't the highest HP Naga Siren, but yeah, as soon as those BKBs tick out, you have to be cautious. You have to run away. You really don't have any options, and they're continuously finding these initiations. That was a perfect go from Brile onto Husky. He had the Tornado. He was going to be very obnoxious, but the big issue is Tomato does not have the Blink Dagger. He doesn't have the farm. He's not able to help that secondary jump, and now just going to be able to do a full reset. This is going to be a very hard game going forward. 20k gold lead now for 4 Zoomers. Undying, they need to sit back farm. They need BKB on Tiny. They need an AC and a Blink Dagger on the Sven. They need so much farm now to keep their head above water, whereas I don't know if Four Zoomers are going to give them that much time.
Well, they are going to jump in onto
Cool.
Brax, though, but a little bit mistimed there. The Yules will be able to dodge out the Sunstrike, but they should still get the kill. Dubu, okay. He's going to throw down the ult for that one. They are going to be able to get in onto Ocean, so this should be 2 for them. The Rubik, he really doesn't have too many plays to make here, but he's still not dead yet, and the song actually comes through, so he may not have the plays, but Sammy certainly does, as the Rubik just gets himself away from that fight, but now Gunnar, well, he's kind of alone. He does pick Saberlight off, though, but now can he survive? He's got the cheese, there's no song, but the reinforcements are coming, so they're going to try and turn this one into a fight as Tomato going to get snared up. He does have the BKB, though, but now Brax is in. Tomato forced to pop that BKB, trying to get onto Gunnar. Needs 1 or 2 more right clicks. Not going to be able to get the job done, though. Sunstrike off the mark as well. And now that BKB, it's wearing off. The Sven's in trouble. He's trapped up by the Spear Stun, and he's just straight up dead here. There's so much damage and control from Four Zoomers. Once the BKB is gone, the fight is over. There's nothing more for Tomato to do there, and they just failed to recognize that fact over and over again. Once the BKBs were off, they're still sort of stuck in the middle of it, and they don't have a way to extract themselves once Four Zoomers turn it around.
And for Zoomers, they're really just playing their hearts out. They're being so well with their cover. Now you have, wow, Gunnar went 30% magic resistance. That's kind of wild, but yeah, I think Moon dead into the meat grinder. Nothing he can do. And now you just push high ground. You don't have a Sven for 40 seconds. He wouldn't have God's Strength even if he was alive. It is a little bit obnoxious with that upheaval, but at the same time, you have this Aegis still. Just what a good bait from Gunnar and those baiting plays. And yeah, okay, GG.
They're just gonna
They don't
straight
even
up
want to
call
play
it.
with it. They really just fell behind in every single aspect of their lineup. They weren't able to get those aggressive plays. They missed their double BKB timing. Man, Four Zoomers. There's a little bit of luck involved, I think, but the heads-up plays from Sammy Boy item-wise pretty much the entire game really spelled disaster for him. And I said a little bit earlier, we've seen the Sven get kited out usually by that Faceless Void where it feels like you are sort of running out of damage. You need to really hit that timing and hit that timing hard. And for Zoomers, they dealt with the blows beautifully. They really handled all of the Undying aggression perfectly. It feels like a weird game being over now just because they did call it sort of out of the blue, but Undying were convincingly losing those fights for a straight 10 minutes.
Yeah, at a certain point, it feels abrupt the way they call that GG, but the writing was on the wall, right? They were just getting pushed back over and over and over again. Every team fight they attempted really just sort of backfired on them. So it's an impressive play from Four Zoomers. Again, as you said, the itemization from Sammy Boy is a little bit different from what we normally see, but this is an instance where different worked out pretty well for them. They just shut Undying down, and I was mentioning earlier on maybe a situation where Sammy wanted the Aghanim Scepter upgrade to get through those BKBs with the Ensnare, but he actually didn't need them. Tomato and Bryle just couldn't get the job done in the time allotted them by those BKBs. Saberlight unfortunately never even finished his. So Four Zoomers just sort of outlast their opponents. It's a strategy that seems simple, but it's more than effective. Undying just really didn't have a whole lot to work with once that Magic Community wore away.
Yeah, and having Moonmeander on really not that secondary playmaker, you tried to salvage it by picking that Sven on Tomato, but he wasn't finding initiations, he wasn't finding the plays, and several times it did feel a little bit disconnected. You had that tornado landing on heroes that were already storm-hammered. It felt like Undying, shake off the dust. We've seen them lose this first game once or twice, where they just need to sort of polish their play. We'll probably see a much different Undying coming in game 2.
Right. We have seen them be flexible and very much sort of adaptable so far in this event. So I would anticipate them coming into game 2 with something that's going to be a little bit different, but, well, we'll see if it's enough. Four Zoomers were able to just completely sort of counteract what their opponents went for in that first match, and they now have really all the momentum on their side heading into game 2. So we will be hopping into a little bit of a break here in between matches, but when we return, it'll be game number 2 between Four Zoomers and Undying. So stick around, folks. We'll be bringing you that matchup just as soon as we get underway.